It was a Tuesday afternoon when Claire Bennett, a meticulous corporate lawyer, stepped into the elevator of her downtown office building. Her day had been filled with meetings, deadlines, and the ever-present hum of urgency. She barely noticed the man who entered just as the doors were closing, a casually dressed stranger carrying a guitar case slung over his shoulder. The stranger nodded at her politely, and Claire gave a brief smile before returning to her phone, typing out an email. "Busy day?" he asked, his voice warm and unintrusive. Claire glanced up, surprised by the question. "Always," she replied curtly. The elevator began its ascent, but just as it reached the 10th floor, it jolted to a stop. The lights flickered, and the hum of machinery fell silent. "Great," Claire muttered, pressing the emergency button. A voice crackled over the intercom, informing them that help was on the way, but that it might take some time. "Guess we're stuck," the man said, setting his guitar case down and leaning against the wall. "I'm Jake, by the way." "Claire," she replied, her tone distracted as she tried to get a signal on her phone. Jake chuckled softly. "No signal in here. Looks like we'll have to actually talk to each other." Claire sighed, annoyed at the disruption. But as the minutes dragged on, she realized they might as well pass the time. "So what do you do, Jake?" "I'm a musician," he said, gesturing to the guitar. "Well, trying to be. Right now it's a mix of gigs, teaching, and chasing the dream." Claire raised an eyebrow. "That sounds risky." "Yeah, but it's worth it. What about you?" "I'm a lawyer," she said. "Corporate. Not as glamorous as chasing dreams, but it pays the bills." As the minutes stretched into an hour, their conversation deepened. Claire shared how her work consumed her life, leaving little time for anything else. She confessed that she often felt like she was running on autopilot, doing what was expected of her rather than what she truly wanted. Jake listened intently. "What did you want to do before you became a lawyer?" Claire hesitated, then smiled wistfully. "I wanted to write. Stories, novels, anything that let me create. But life got in the way, I guess." Jake nodded, understanding. "Sometimes it feels like life's a fight between what we want and what we think we're supposed to do." When Claire asked about his music, Jake admitted that it wasn't easy. "There are days I think about giving up, getting a steady job, but then I play a song that connects with someone, and it reminds me why I started." The more they talked, the more Claire found herself relaxing, laughing at Jake's stories about odd gigs and embarrassing moments on stage. In turn, Jake was captivated by Claire's sharp wit and the vulnerability she revealed beneath her polished exterior. As the conversation turned to family, Jake spoke of his late father, who had inspired his love for music, and Claire opened up about her estranged relationship with her parents who had pushed her into law school. "Maybe it's time to reach out to them," Jake said gently. "Life's too short to leave things unsaid." "Maybe," Claire replied, her voice soft. After 2 hours, the elevator jolted back to life. The doors opened, and a maintenance worker greeted them apologetically. Claire and Jake stepped out, blinking in the light of the hallway. For a moment, they stood there, uncertain of what to say. "Well," Jake said, smiling, "this was definitely not how I planned to spend my afternoon." "Me neither," Claire said, her tone warmer than before. Jake hesitated, then asked, "Can I give you my number? In case you ever want to talk or hear me play." Claire smiled, surprising herself. "Sure." She handed him her phone and they exchanged numbers. In the days that followed, Claire found herself thinking about Jake's words. She dusted off an old notebook and began writing again, her long-neglected passion reignited. She even called her parents, starting the process of rebuilding their relationship. Jake, meanwhile, found inspiration in their conversation, penning a new song he called "Trapped Together," which became a hit at his next gig. A week later, Claire attended one of Jake's performances at a small cafe. As she sat in the audience watching him pour his heart into his music, she realized how much their chance encounter had changed her. After the show, Jake found her in the crowd. "So what did you think?" he asked, his eyes bright. "It was amazing," she said, smiling. "And I wrote something too. Maybe I'll show it to you someday." "Deal," Jake said. Their connection formed in the confines of an elevator, blossomed into something neither of them had expected. Together, they reminded each other of the importance of following one's passions and finding joy in the unexpected.